Over the past decade, you've likely become very familiar with the image of Dubai as a dominant symbol of prosperity, a futuristic oasis where tourism revenue once reached nearly $30 billion per year. It was considered an irreplaceable stopover, a luxurious global hub with Dubai International Airport, DXB, serving tens of millions of passengers annually. However, the events of March 2026 delivered a
Минздрав
serious
Российской
shock to
Федерации
that
готовит новую
confidence.
антитабачную концепцию,
Drone attacks and rising regional instability reportedly caused passenger traffic to plunge sharply within weeks, damaging the image of absolute safety that the Gulf had carefully built for decades. At the same time, Southeast Asia, especially Singapore and Malaysia, appeared ready to absorb the shifting flow of travelers and investment. With tourism revenues climbing and long-term infrastructure plans accelerating, these countries increasingly positioned themselves as safer and more stable alternatives for luxury tourism, business conferences, and international travel. Perhaps this is the moment when global travelers begin redefining luxury itself, placing certainty, safety, and authenticity above pure spectacle. Dubai has invested billions into creating an image of perfection. Towering skyscrapers, luxury resorts, artificial islands, and glamorous shopping districts transformed the desert into one of the world's most recognizable tourism brands. But recent geopolitical tensions revealed something important: safety cannot be built with glass and steel alone. Once concerns about security began spreading, customer confidence weakened rapidly. Travelers who once prioritized status and extravagance started focusing instead on reliability, predictability, and peace of mind. Luxury loses meaning when travelers worry about disruptions, emergency alerts, or uncertainty surrounding flights and events. Reports suggested that occupancy rates at some luxury hotels dropped significantly after the incidents, while major international conferences quietly began exploring alternative locations across Asia. Insurance costs for large events reportedly surged as global insurers reassessed regional risks. In industries driven by stability, rising uncertainty can trigger enormous economic consequences. This is where Singapore entered the conversation. While the Middle East struggled with geopolitical tensions, Singapore maintained its reputation for efficiency, neutrality, and precision. Tourism revenue in Singapore reached record levels in recent years, supported by a system designed around reliability rather than spectacle. Changi Airport continued operating smoothly, reinforcing the country's image as one of the world's safest and most dependable transit hubs. Singapore's appeal goes beyond tourism. Investors and corporations often value legal transparency, low political risk, and operational stability more than flashy architecture. The country has spent decades building trust through strong institutions, strict regulations, and long-term planning. When the Singapore government announced major investments into tourism development and business infrastructure, many saw it as part of a larger strategy to dominate the future of conferences, finance, and premium travel. For international corporations, reliability matters more than glamour. Organizers cannot risk major business events being disrupted by geopolitical instability. That's why many conferences and financial summits increasingly shifted towards Singapore, where security and predictability remain central priorities. In today's world, being insurable and dependable may actually be the highest form of luxury. At the same time, Malaysia has quietly emerged as one of Southeast Asia's most attractive alternatives for travelers seeking value, comfort, and authenticity. Kuala Lumpur offers luxury experiences at costs dramatically lower than many Gulf destinations. Five-star hotels, premium dining, and world-class healthcare services remain accessible at prices that appeal to both middle-class and high-net-worth travelers. Malaysia's tourism strategy focuses heavily on infrastructure, cultural identity, and affordability. Programs like Visit Malaysia 2026 aim to strengthen transportation systems, digital connectivity, and international tourism campaigns. Unlike destinations built primarily around artificial attractions, Malaysia benefits from natural ecosystems, historic cities, and cultural diversity that already exist organically. For many travelers, this creates a more meaningful experience. Instead of artificial islands and imported luxury aesthetics, visitors can experience rainforests, ancient caves, traditional cuisine, and multicultural communities. Destinations like Langkawi, Penang, Malacca, and Desaru Coast combine natural beauty with modern hospitality, offering an experience that feels both luxurious and authentic. Medical tourism has also become one of Malaysia's strongest advantages. International standard healthcare combined with significantly lower costs attracts visitors from across Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and North America. In a world increasingly focused on wellness and long-term quality of life, healthcare access has become an important part of tourism itself. Food culture further separates Southeast Asia from many luxury destinations built around imported experiences. In Malaysia, local cuisine reflects generations of cultural blending between Malay, Chinese, and Indian communities. Travelers increasingly seek authenticity rather than standardized luxury. Fresh local ingredients, farm-to-table concepts, and heritage recipes create emotional connections that expensive branding alone cannot replicate. Meanwhile, aviation trends also appear to be shifting. Airlines and travelers increasingly prioritize routes that avoid geopolitical risk zones. Singapore Airlines and Malaysia Airlines both expanded aggressively across Asia-Pacific markets while strengthening connections to Europe and Australia. Changi Airport and Kuala Lumpur International Airport positioned themselves as stable alternatives for global transit traffic. Technology and efficiency became major advantages as well. Singapore's digital immigration systems, smooth airport operations, and highly organized infrastructure created a frictionless travel experience valued by both tourists and business travelers. In uncertain times, convenience and reliability become powerful competitive advantages. The broader shift may reflect changing global attitudes toward luxury itself. For years, many tourism markets focused on building bigger malls, taller towers, and more extravagant attractions. But modern travelers increasingly prioritize sustainability, cultural depth, and emotional comfort. Nature, heritage, and stability now compete directly against spectacle and excess. Southeast Asia appears particularly well-positioned for this transition. Singapore delivers precision, safety, and financial confidence. Malaysia offers affordability, culture, biodiversity, and hospitality. Together, they create a regional ecosystem that appeals to both corporate travelers and leisure tourists seeking long-term value rather than short-term glamour. This doesn't mean Dubai will disappear. The city still possesses enormous financial resources, world-class infrastructure, and global brand recognition. It will likely adapt and recover over time. However, the unquestioned dominance it once enjoyed may competition than ever before. Travelers and investors have realized there are alternatives capable of offering luxury together with stability and authenticity. Perhaps that is the real transformation happening in global tourism today. The definition of prestige is changing. Flashy architecture alone is no longer enough. Increasingly, travelers want destinations where they feel secure, respected, and genuinely connected to the local environment. They want experiences rooted in culture and reliability rather than spectacle alone. As the world moves toward 2030, Southeast Asia may continue gaining influence as one of the most competitive tourism regions on Earth. Sustainable development, efficient infrastructure, healthcare access, and cultural authenticity are becoming more valuable in a